Hi, my name's Marley, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the peer work that I do when working with people living with BPD. So I currently run a group called the Lived Experience DBT Art Skills Group, where I use art practice and my own lived experience to help embed the DBT skills and practice for people who utilize them. I just want to start by acknowledging that I'm here today on the lands of the Wangal people in the Eora Nation, and I want to pay my respects to the Wangal people for thousands of years of protections of these lands. And I'd also like to pay respects and honour my grandfather's people, the Wiradjuri people, and honour all of the things that my culture has given me when doing this work. I have been brought up in my culture to respect deep listening and to also respect connection to spirit and country as, I guess, really the front line of maintaining well-being and mental health. So I wanted to introduce myself to you the way that I introduce myself to my group. So my name is Marley. This is the information that I provide to my groups. I provide this kind of information by telling them the things that I live well with and the things that I've overcome and faced in my life, like being a multiple stroke survivor, for example. So that they can see that no matter how complex they are, they can aspire to do and be anything that they would choose to be in the world. And I want them to see someone just as complex as them doing this work with them and being successful and living their life worth living. So it's important to me to bring this with them. And I share it, I guess, with an open heart. I also make sure I tell them about what I refer to as the boring stuff, which is the qualifications that I have. And Carlin's already made the point around the definitions between mental health professionals and peer workers that's sometimes made. And it's kind of a way of thinking that I really want to get rid of. I happen to have a lived experience, that's true, but I've also done extensive training and educational development to become a licensed mental health professional. And that's really important to me that that is known and respected. I've done the hard work. I've trained in DBT skills facilitation and the foundational theory of DBT. I've done many other things, and I'm currently about to complete, hopefully soon, my Masters of Art Therapy. So I have legitimate qualifications. I'm not just somebody who has lived experience. I also make this definition when I work with people because I want them to understand that someone with lived experience and peer workers are different, because peer workers consent to hearing all of the things that they need to bring. And I make that really clear. We talk a lot about boundaries and a lot about consent. And so that's a really important thing to me. So I'll often say to them, other people with lived experience might not be able to hold what you're bringing. And that can make you feel invalidated. So make sure that when you're working with someone with lived experience, they really consent to being able to hold whatever you have to bring. I'll tell you a little bit about my participants. So I have 42 people in an 18-week closed group program. There are about 10 people in each group, so there are 4 groups. 80% are she, her pronouns. 15% are they, them pronouns, and 5% are he, him pronouns. I believe that my they, them pronouns and people who identify as trans or non-binary or gender diverse is probably quite a bit higher than in a normal group. And that's because I openly identify as a queer person and people feel safer being in a queer orientated space. Most of the people I work with are between the ages of 15 to 26. And that's kind of where they tend to be. 85% have a primary diagnosis of BPD. One of the interesting things is only 15% have worked with a peer worker before. And of that 15%, no one has ever worked with a peer worker that has disclosed a diagnosis of BPD. Some of the, I guess, more interesting reasons for people being in my group is that 10% have been asked to leave a group, or they've self-exited or experienced withdrawal from services. So there was a lot of people falling out of groups. And I think that's an important thing to look at. There's lots of reasons why that will happen, of course, but I think what has been interesting is that we're in week 11 now of the 18-week program, and I have like a 93% retention rate. We've only lost 2 people, and that was mainly due to logistics more than anything. So I think that's a really positive thing. The program is run using intentional peer support, using the psychiatric survivor model. We're very trauma informed, we're very diversity informed, and very strengths based as well. We do follow the normal domains of DBT, but I've also included an identity module, to go over self-stigma, invalidation, and assertive anger. These are things that have been identified not just by my own lived experience, but others in my group as being, I guess, not addressed well within DBT programs. There's me, I'm the peer facilitator, but each group also has a peer model, which is person who normally self-elects and has been through a DBT program before, or feels comfortable filling those gaps of silence and being the first one to share and all of that stuff. And they have outside connection with each other. If they would like to, it's up to them, they're adults. But we also have a locked Facebook group where they can share their artwork and they can, post resources or questions to each other and get more support. This is just an example of one of the ways in which I teach a skill via art. So this is a skill that I created called Flipping the Script that talks a little bit about self-stigma and how we're working to undo some of that negative self-stigma caused by some of the pejorative terms that have been used for decades against people with BPD. I also teach them how to share safely. And this is something that's really important because a lot of them have no idea how to do this. They don't know how to share safely. So we talk about, what triggering is and how that feels for people and ways that we can get around it. So before we come into the space, we always remind ourselves to ask before we share anything, does this help me? Does this help somebody else? If I was hearing this from someone else, how would this make me feel? How can I explain myself without describing or detailing events? And what emotions can I share instead? And I think posing this to the group this way allows them to not feel invalidated and shut down, and allows them to own the space a bit more and own the safety of this space or the comfortability of this space. They also have group boundaries and we work on this together. They're a bit of a mix between what I need to do in order to sit ethically within my own practice and the people who regulate and register me. So obviously there are boundaries in place. Everyone has to have their camera on, for example, but the rest of them are actually things that they have decided as a group work for them. And one of the things that I do with my group boundaries that is always flexible. It's a working document. It's a living document. But for example, there's a group boundary around the ways in which we discuss body image, weight, food, activities, and those things. I don't personally have a lived experience of eating disorders. So what I did with that as well is I kind of gave that to the group. A few people who identified as having that experience went away and they workshopped it together. And then they came back to me and said, this is what we're comfortable with. This is what we want to put in our boundaries. And I was fully supportive of that. In that space, they are the experts and it's important for them to feel as though they're experts. I give them some really clear information about what to do if they're feeling unsafe or they're feeling uncomfortable in certain situations. And they also have access to one-on-one work with me. So everyone in the program has access to one-on-one support with me if they choose to. it's up to them to set the logistics of that interaction. So what I have noticed, I guess, is that I have around 4 different types of peer interactions within the program. Peer leadership, which is where they're talking to me solely as the facilitator and saying, hey, this happened in group and I want to address this with you. And we have that conversation. A more kind of, I guess, classic form of peer support where they might come and talk to me about issues outside of the group that are becoming challenges to them and impacting their time in the group. And they may just need someone to listen, maybe some guidance. And I also do quite a lot of referrals to other services as well. So that might be referring people to sexual assault services. It might be referring them to victims of crime services and things like that, just giving them a bit of direction. Peer mentoring is something that I used to do quite a lot before I started the group anyway. And it's definitely something that I'm very passionate about. And so that's basically just where I have conversations with people who are coming up into advocacy, who are just starting to move into this world and, starting to sit on advisory boards or lived experience panels or be part of research. And we just talk about, my experiences, the things that have worked for me, the challenges they might be facing, how they can get over those challenges, and just, providing them some of that really strong, I guess, support around how to navigate this world. I also do a lot of peer co-reflection, which is where those people who are acting as the peer models in my group meet with me and we go over the program content and the delivery and any issues that arise as a result of what they're doing in my group. So that might be what I guess medicalized models refer to as a peer supervisor or supervision, but in IPS we refer to it as co-reflection. So the way in which I structure a lot of the one-to-one stuff is that I make myself immediately available in the half an hour before the group and an hour after the group. So they know that they can ask me to log on early and chat with me before the group, or they can flag me down as we're saying goodbye at the end of the group, and we can continue that Zoom session one-on-one if that's what they need. I'm really open and honest about my availability. That's something that's really important. So I let them know when I've got something else I need to do or when a day is bad for me, and we work together around that. But I find that most people actually engage with me most often over email to let me know things, and I'll exchange emails with them. I'll offer them to Zoom with me, but most people feel that they might best express themselves over email. And so there's a lot of like email sharing and just checking in with each other on that. I do Zoom one-on-one with people. I don't have any set time limits for my Zoom sessions, which when I say that, a lot of people are like, wow, like you must just sit there for hours. But I'm not sure what it is, if it's just that they maybe don't need that time, or if it's that they might be really conscious of my time. But it's unusual that people take more than an hour on Zoom, but I don't hurry them. I don't get them off. Like I'll let them know when I have to leave, and we manage that pretty well together. And I always follow up with them after a Zoom session. So normally the next day I leave, I'll send them an email and see where they're at, offer to talk to them further if they need it. But once again, I really leave that up to them. It's really up to them to set the boundaries and limits of the support that they need. So yeah, I'm also at the moment not charging people because it doesn't really sit well within my value and ethics systems to charge people during a global pandemic. So I asked some of the people in my group to give me some information about what they have been thinking about the groups and what it's been like to work with me. And I thought I would share some of them with you. So a lot of the people really seem to reflect that they like to have the choice to engage with someone who has lived experience. They often reflect that they feel that they have a very genuine connection with me, and I hope that they know that it is a genuine connection. I really do care about the people that I work with, and I really do believe in them. And I think one of the great things about being a peer worker is that I can say that, and that's fine. And that's well within my boundary system, you know. I've never had any negative, I guess, results from telling somebody that I actually cared about them and that I wanted to see them succeed. They also talked a lot about trusting lived experience voices a little bit more, which I think is reflected in Carlin's research for sure. And the idea that, you know, I am working from lived experience. I'm not just reading this from a book. And that's something that I think resonates quite a lot. I think because I actually practice DBT a lot in my life, I have so many ways to come at the skills that if someone says, oh, that doesn't work for me, then I can go, okay, cool, maybe try implementing this skill that way. And they seem to really respond to that a lot. I'm also very, I guess, open and aware of the complexities that people bring. And so I try as hard as I can to make my spaces as inclusive as they can be. And that understanding that people are neurodiverse, understanding that people might not engage best verbally. And that's where that art comes in. And I'm really lucky to have that as another way into people. And I do have a few people in my group who are very nonverbal. And that doesn't mean that they can't do DBT. It doesn't mean they're not engaging. It doesn't mean that they're not working hard. It just means that that's the way that they engage. And so I meet them where they're at. And I think that's a really big thing, is to just meet somebody where they're at, work within their worldview, and let me know what they need, I guess, is the most important thing. So it's been a really difficult time. People have been struggling quite a lot. But over the last 11 weeks that we've been together, I've seen some remarkable progress in people. And I've seen some amazing peer support within the groups supporting each other, and the bonds that they've created and the care and compassion they have for each other is amazing. And so I'm very honored to do this work, and so happy that I get to, I guess, live my dream of helping other people find their life worth living. Thank you.